there's still a huge divide. People are very divided even now. Not as much, I think, um, as some people have shifted their views somewhat. But boy, there's still a lot of scars and still open wounds. How would you as premier address that?
And the debate's very polarized, right? And that's, I talk
Yeah.
to friends, and look, I have friends that I grew up with that are not on side with our politics.
Yeah.
But what the worst part is the way that people, I've seen friends and families like go at each other, right? And hear the stories of like the vicious rhetoric that they spew at each other from both sides. And when you have a crisis like that, government's job is to lower the temperature. And when the Toronto Star is putting on their front cover nasty comments about what should happen to the unvaccinated, the premier should be taking them to task, not giving them an online gambling license to help fund that crap. The premier has a responsibility to lower the temperature and to give people the confidence that everything's going to be okay. And I think we also have an obligation to not just dismiss it outright. We can say, look, and this is not a politically opportune position for me, right?
No.
It's easier to drum it up and say that the whole thing was overblown and dismiss it. But when I get someone in East York calling me and her mom is sick and they've told her it's COVID and she goes in a coma and dies, her mom, I don't feel responsible going out there and saying, COVID, it's just like the flu. Maybe you don't like that, don't vote for me, vote for someone else. But can you imagine if monoclonal antibodies were widely available across Ontario from the get-go? How different the discussion would have been? Like the fear would have been reduced, where people would know that if they got COVID anyway, they could take the monoclonal antibody treatment and severe side effects would be reduced 70, 80%. And other early treatments, instead of just saying, get vaccinated, and if you're around someone that's not vaccinated, blah, 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 they fill in the rest. And so that's government's responsibility, is to say, to look at the situation, say, there's no way we're going to get everyone to do what we want them to do. So let's figure out other options to make sure we don't create what we saw in the last 2 years.